you did get actually shot at.
I did. The drone got shot at. Yeah.
This is the Sweno Creative Podcast. I'll be your host, professional photographer and video content creator, Brian Sweno. In this podcast, we will discuss all parts of business, marketing, mindset, creativity, and self-improvement. Sometimes with the help of a special guest to provide some incredible outside perspective. We sat down about 2 years ago.
We did.
Almost to the day, like I was saying. And at that time, we were like fresh off. We were still buzzing about leaving our jobs. It hadn't been too long before that.
No.
And then, I mean, probably...
It had been like a year and a half.
Almost a year-ish.
Yeah.
A little bit over a year.
We'd both gotten through that first year of that freak
Crapping our pants. I definitely wasn't over that point yet, though.
I wasn't either.
Definitely still crapping my pants.
I wasn't
I
either.
went and rewatched that episode the other night just to like see what all we talked about. And for any of you guys watching, if you clicked on this episode, I would highly recommend watching that episode first. And then we go into basically your history, everything you've ever done, why you picked up a camera, how you got into drones.
Yeah.
The fact that you're a dinosaur and you started off in film, taking photos, and all
something you've never done film.
I still have never even seen it in person.
No way.
Yeah.
I should have brought one. If I'd have known that, I'd have brought one. I still have one.
So we went through everything in that one. So I want this to just kind of be a hangout, us just talking like we normally would. I have some things if we need some, things to talk about.
Yeah.
So, for anyone who doesn't know, just kind of introduce yourself and say what you do for anyone who doesn't know.
If you don't know me, I am Nathan Warson. I own a company called Warson Media, and mostly I do real estate photography and drone photography, and then I carry the drones into anything I can fly them into or around or whatever, whether it be racetracks or businesses. Flew through a couple of businesses last year. Flying with you on different projects. So just kind of photography, but not people photography so much.
Right.
I've done a little bit of that, but I focus mostly on houses and just selling stuff, helping people sell real estate is really...
You help people show off what they have or can offer in a different perspective.
Right.
It's really cool.
Right.
It's really cool to see what you can do as well, not only like skill-wise, but like just that other perspective. And I think that's why it's so valuable for other people's businesses. You have a place that you're proud of, look-wise.
Yeah.
You should have Warson come fly through it and show it off. It's just a totally unique perspective that you can't get with literally anything else, essentially.
Right.
So you mentioned Warson Media. That's a change.
That's a change
Since the last podcast.
It is a change.
Talk about that a little bit. You went from Warson Photography.
I did.
And we talked about it in that episode.
I think so.
You said it sounded like a 1990s
wedding photographer.
Because it was.
Because it was.
So talk about that. Like what prompted that change? Like,
I think I wanted to just kind of update what I was doing. I did more than just photography, and I just needed a refresh. I'd had Warson Media, or I'd had Warson Photography since I think 1999 was when I applied for that, doing business as, and then when I started doing it full time, I LLC'd it and kind of went with it for a couple of years. We talked about like all the different things that I was trying to, like, I've always liked Sweno visuals because it's like it doesn't pigeonhole you into one thing, Mm-hmm. Visual is all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to just pigeonhole myself into Warson Photography or Warson Drone Works or Warson, you know what I mean? Like there's all kinds of stuff. So I also played around with leaving my last name out of it, and I just couldn't find anything that sounded decent. You know what I mean? It's like it was all kind of cheesy. I don't want some cheesy name. So I don't know. I landed on Warson Media, and I had Alan Myers make a graphic, and here we are. Mm-hmm. It's still technically Warson Photography LLC, but it's doing business as Warson Media.
Yeah.
So
it's just kind of a little bit more modern sounding.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. A little more timeless, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's going to last. That's going to be able to last for a while.
Well, if your main thing was the photography aspect, like you were, but like your main thing really, or what you're at least known for now around here is the drone dude.
Right.
Like that's the drone dude.
Right.
Like I literally hear kids say that at games now.
Yeah, that's
There's
cool.
the drone dude.
That's cool.
Like even if they don't know your name.
Yeah.
You're the drone dude.
Yeah. And I think that's when we talked before, one of my goals when I went full time doing this was I want people in Lebanon, Missouri to know that I'm like, if they see a drone in the air, it's probably going to be me. And if they do see me flying a drone, they can trust me flying the drone, you know, and that I think after 4 years, I think I've been successful in that, you know.
You haven't took anyone's head off yet.
I haven't. We have had a little incident playing around here at the studio, but you know,
that was more my fault than it was yours.
But no, we've, you know, speaking of the football games, you know, I mean, how fun is that for all of us to be up in that booth and to be just making something so cool, being able to bring these perspectives that you just don't see anywhere, you know, flying over the team and coming in and getting that aspect and then seeing you guys down there on the field, like getting those tight shots. I mean, just, I don't know. It just, the whole atmosphere this year was just awesome up there. It was just great.
That's a big change for us.
It is a big change.
Recent was us acquiring Jacket Nation Sports. And
you guys acquiring
going into a whole different realm of production, which is live video stuff.
Right.
And we had been helping before on the back end of things a little bit, but figuring out all aspects of it.
Right.
Once it's go time, that's a whole new
in the
thing.
middle of go time.
Yeah.
Like it was.
And it was with the week of homecoming.
Yeah.
Like that's when we were supposed to take over.
Yeah. Ran
into a bunch of roadblocks. And then we somehow managed to keep it going and keep the excitement. So you've been a gigantic part of that and the initial production value adding in the drones and stuff. So thank you for that. It's been awesome. And that was one of the first things that we got compliments on was how awesome it is to have that perspective. No other school has someone flying a drone the whole game, you know? Right. You get like that blimp perspective or helicopter perspective.
Yeah. And our field looks so cool.
It does.
You know, it looks so cool from up there. I love it. And you can see, I love the shot where it's like over on, what is it? Like over by the flag and you're looking at the whole school and you can see like the main drag of the town. Right. You know, it's like, I love that shot.
Right.
I could get that shot every single year and it'd be brand new.
Right. So we ran into one area of concern with that where the refs didn't know the rules.
Right.
And we have made it a point to like double and triple check the rules.
Oh yeah.
On your end, you've done all that. You're FAA certified, all the things. And then we went with Coach Christian, who's our athletic director at our school district, and we looked at all the rules specifically for specific games.
Right.
And once it gets to districts, things change a little.
Right. Yep.
They stopped play in the middle of one of the games because they were concerned with your drone.
Right. That was like not even close.
Yeah. So like the rule is you can't be within the white line.
Right. There's a white line like 3 feet out from the thing, and I can't be anywhere. I have to be on the other side of the white line.
So you literally can be over the track.
Yes.
You can be as close as the track, essentially.
Yes. So long as I'm not right over people.
Right.
Like if I'm over the track and there's nobody below me, I'm good.
But you were like 200 feet in the air and way far away.
Yeah.
He just thought it looked a little closer.
Yeah.
And for some reason he thought it was a UFO or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there was a lot, in his defense, there was a lot of UFO stuff happening this year.
There was. But it turned out okay. I mean, Coach Christian's been really cool. And, you know, at the end of the day, if I have to land it, I just land it and we get clearance again and I take off. I mean,
I was going to ask you, what's going on in your head whenever that happens? Because I know your goal essentially is to not be a distraction whatsoever.
Right.
You want to just add to the experience.
Right. Right.
So whenever they're like, we got to stop everything. There's something over there.
Yeah.
What's going on in your head?
I want to hide in the background. You know what I mean? Like I want to be like, what drone? What do you mean?
Right.
Like, I'm going to go over here. You know?
Even though you know that you're in the right.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating thing, because even if you are in the right, we've cleared it through all the proper channels and everything. If they said you have to land it, you just have to land it.
I just have to land it.
Like you have to do whatever they say. Essentially.
Yeah. If the refs are going to give the team a technical because I'm in the air, then it's not worth it.
Right.
You know, I'll move on. So it's unfortunate because I think our kids, you know, I'm not doing what I'm doing with you guys and doing all that. I'm not doing that to make a living. I'm not doing that I'm doing that so that we can promote our school, so that we can promote Lebanon, so that we can promote our kids. You know, I've got kids that are in these programs. You know, I just want to elevate what we're doing as a community in that sense, you know. And so
saw what you did there.
Yeah.
You want to elevate.
I want to elevate our community, and I think we all do. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And it disappoints me that when we have refs that come in from outside and they're not, you know, I have to respect them, but also sometimes it feels like they don't, you know, instead of asking questions, they just start, you know, yelling at the coach. And I'm just like, you know, that happened at the basketball game, you know, where, you know, they literally were just, I don't know, ridiculous, I guess. But I've got goggles on. I'm up in the booth. I'm flying around, and I'm hearing chatter around. And I'm just like, I can't do anything about it, guys. I guess I'll just come in and land because I can't, you know, I'm not just going to disarm and let it fall.
Right.
So anyway, it just, you know, you just do what you got to do. And it's the same thing. Like I was out, I'm not going to say where it was at, but I was in town. What was it? Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. And I, you know, I take ground pictures with the camera, you know, of the house and everything. And then I get in my car because it's cold, and I take my drone off and I'm watching it out the window, and I'm going in front of the house, and this guy starts coming towards the car, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And he's like, is that you flying that drone? I'm like, yeah, I'm taking pictures of this house for real estate. And he's like, I don't care what you're doing, get that thing out of the air, or I'm going to get it out for you. And I'm like, well, if you get it out, that's illegal. So let's just go with that. And I didn't feel like having an altercation that day. So I just took the drone down and was like, you're not getting drone shots of this house. I'm sorry. Until you go talk to the neighbor who has a problem that I'm pointing a camera at his neighbor's house.
Right.
So, you know, sometimes you have people that they just don't like it. And I try to be respectful of that. I know people kind of freak out and think, but I don't have any reason to be spying on you or peeping Tomming you. That's illegal. So all I'm doing is taking pictures and doing my job, and I'll be out.
Right.
You know,
You did tell us one time though, you did get actually shot at.
I did. The drone got shot at. Yeah. I was
talk about that.
I was in Springfield. This was a couple of years ago, and I was in Springfield flying this 10-acre piece of land. And to fly a piece of land, you have to be a little bit out from that, you know, because the camera is going to be down looking at the property, but you've got to be over the neighbor's property, essentially, going around. So I tend to, I don't take my time. I get jobs done, and you know that. And so I'm in sport mode, going sideways around this property at like 25 miles an hour, like just blowing. And I was doing my last pass coming around, and I hear 4 gunshots, and I'm like, oh,
it's not deer season.
No,
either.
No, it was in the middle of summer, and I just went ahead and finished my pass, and I immediately landed. And when I got home, I looked through the footage, and in one of my pictures, there's a guy in the corner of it, and you can see him holding the gun up like this. And you know, I just left because I didn't want an altercation again at that point. But
especially with a guy who's holding a gun,
right,
and already has shot,
right. And so, number one, if he'd actually hit the drone with a pistol, good on you, dude. You're a good shot for one. because I was 200 feet in the air and I'm going for 25 miles an hour. So that's a pretty decent shot if you could hit it out of the sky. If he had hit it out of the sky, I would have had to call the police or the sheriff's department. I would not have gone and got my drone myself. No way. And then that would have been a huge deal for him because if you shoot a drone out of the air, it's like shooting a plane, and the FAA does not joke about that. And then you also can get other stuff about like shooting in the air, because when you shoot up in the air, you don't know where that bullet's going to go.
You mean it just doesn't go to space?
No, it does not.
Some people
it eventually comes back down. And the unfortunate thing is, I think there was a girl in Springfield that was actually killed because of a celebratory gunfire, and that's tragic, man. So there's all kinds of things, like if you see a drone in the air and it's actually legitimately doing something, if it's not hovering, looking at your property, like being creepy, then you need to call the cops, right? Like that's a whole nother thing. And I have a friend in Springfield that I fly with, and he always says, like when somebody has an altercation with him, he's like, do you want to call the cops or do you want me to? Because either way, we're going to get this figured out. Yeah. And I know my rights and I know my rules, and I'm within those rules. And unfortunately, you run into people from time to time that do have a problem with it. I try to be very respectful. I'm not an altercation person, and you know that. I would rather just be like, okay, right, I'm going to leave now.
Right. So for anyone who maybe doesn't know, you kind of just outlined it there a little bit, but what are the actual rules? Like, you can literally if I'm at my house and your drone's flying, I don't own the air.
That's correct.
No one owns the airspace.
That's correct. It's
you
FAA.
Can be anywhere that you want. You could be above my house.
That's correct.
If you're doing something.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
I have no right to go shoot you.
Right.
I own my house.
Right.
I don't own the sky above my house.
Yeah, that's true.
So for any of you guys who may have thought that was the case,
you don't have a column.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Your column does not go to space.
No. No, it does not. So it's the general rules of it is, 400 feet or under. If you go over 400 feet, you're actually in, airplane space. So, so don't do that. Even if you're a recreational pilot or anything, I hear people like, oh, how high can it go? And I'm like, 400 feet. That's it. So we go 400 feet. And you can't be over, like, I can't fly over the courthouse here in town. My drone used to actually geofence me out of it, where if I was flying, say I was flying full speed towards the airspace over that, it would literally just stop. Like almost like it hits its own wall. Yeah. But they actually got rid of that. DJI got rid of that just a month ago. And so I have to be much more aware of what I'm flying. But you can't fly over like stadiums, like the Chiefs game this weekend.
Yeah.
There's things called TFRs, which are temporary flight restrictions. Anything that's like 20,000 people or 10,000 people or above, they'll issue a TFR. And the only people that can fly in that airspace are the people that are authorized to fly in that airspace. Because you see drone footage and stuff on TV. Yeah. Those guys are authorized. Like, they've got all the FAA permits and all that stuff. They're bigger drones than what I fly, but they're big, very, they're carrying a huge broadcast camera, and they're legit, like huge. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is being gone to drones because, it costs, to get a helicopter, it's like $5,000 an hour or something like that. And you can pay a drone pilot way less than that. I wish you could pay $5,000 an hour, but there's no fuel involved, and there's no, there's just, it's the logistics of it but like when you go to the lake and they do all that, chasing those big cigarette boats and stuff, there's still no drone that can like do what those helicopter pilots are doing. Like, you can't chase a drone. You can't chase a boat going 200 miles an hour down the lake. Like when they do that lake,
the shootout thing.
Well, when they do the shootout, but every year at the shootout, they always have some guys trying to get from one end of the lake to the other end of the lake and see how fast they can do it. And to get any kind of footage of that, you've got to have a helicopter that can just go, forever. Because I'm going to run out of signal, or I'm going to, my drone can only go that fast for a few seconds.
Right. then it just dives into the water.
Yeah, it's like done.
So we've kind of covered some changes. You're Warson Media now.
Yeah.
We've taken over another business that you've been helping us with and helping up level the production value. You've been shot. You're wounded now. Your drone's wounded.
No.
What do you think the biggest changes have been for you in the past 2 since our last conversation there? Like personally, professionally?
Oh, man.
What do you think the biggest changes are?
Biggest changes. I figured out a little better how to be self-employed, which means that when you're doing well through the summer, when real estate is doing well, I've learned to actually save money so that when it's 5 degrees outside and everything's brown or covered in snow, or we have Christmas and nobody's selling anything. This is probably the first Christmas season that I've been able to just be like, I'm good, where like
and not panic about it.
Yeah, and not be like, oh my gosh, I don't have any job scheduled next week. This year I was like, the week of Christmas, I was just like, I'm gonna just enjoy this. I'm just gonna sit here on the couch and not have to do anything and just enjoy it. But now I'm like, I'm ready to get going again. Yeah. So that's been a good change, in my own head, just learning how the ebbs and flows of self-employment is, because it is different than getting that paycheck every week, as you know. I think it's been really, really cool to like sit back and just kind of like, I come in with what you guys are doing whenever there's a need for it. And so it's been really cool to sit back and watch like what you've been doing, like what Ramsey's been doing, what Jacket Nation, like just the leveling up of all of that stuff. And it's cool to be like to be able to watch from here and know that, like, you called me on a job the other day. You were like, hey, I'm doing this. I want some of what you can bring. And we went and had a blast, like all morning. We just went and shot, and it was so much fun. And so that's been a good change, I think, for me, is not feeling the pressure of having to, like, I like to kind of ebb and flow and do my own thing, but then come in. Like, I love those kind of relationships where I can like come in when I'm needed and then, go do my other stuff and then come in. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of one that's been fun for me to be able to watch and also hopefully give you guys a perspective from kind of an outsider looking in a little bit and being able to say, come in here one day when you're like frustrated about something and be like, Brian, calm down.
Well, I think that's a good, having other creative friends who know sort of what you're going through. Yeah. But they might be going through the same thing or have went through it at the same a different time. Right. But like you coming in that day, I was super frustrated. It was a situation that had nothing to do with you. It was other individuals. And it's just one of those moments where you're like, I knew I shouldn't be frustrated because of it. And then just having someone else come in and say, though, like reinforce, like, yeah, it's cool. Like I felt that too in this situation, but this is how I thought about it or whatever. Yeah. It's just like having other people who you respect also that know, I knew you had my best interest in mind. Absolutely. You weren't like, you're stupid. Don't think that, No. Like other people that aren't, but you weren't also like, yeah, that's great. Feel like that. Right. Like you were like, hey, let's sit here and talk about this and try to figure out a thing. Yeah. Which I would do for you and have done for you, like, so having those people in your circle that you can trust with opening up and saying whatever you're feeling for one is great. And then like being able to work on jobs, and most of the things that I shoot don't require an FPV, right. Right. That's not a requirement, but I now look for opportunities for that because I know it's awesome working with you for one, but also just being able to be like, hey, let's go do this. Like, here's my thought about this. What do you think? You're the dude who does it, like, so being able to have a different person's perspective on projects is really cool for me. And just, it feels like we're growing a little Avengers team over here. Like We got every aspect covered that you could ever want now,
For sure.
essentially.
Yeah,
so
for sure. And it's cool to not be necessarily locked into that. I think I've been locked into things in the past where it's like, this is what you do and this is who you do it for. And now it's like, it's fun to be able to jump in with you and jump in with Nathaniel and jump in with, I got to go to Texas a couple of times this year, and it's cool to not feel the pressure to have to rely on you for all of my income, but get to come and be a part of what you're doing in certain aspects. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's so fun. Just like the racetrack this year, going out to I-44 Speedway, we spent a lot of time out there. We had a lot of fun out there. We had a lot of trials, and I had some tribulations out there because that was a trip.
No, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. But it just, but being able to come together with somebody that's as talented as Nathaniel. I mean, I think you would agree that he has created a team that's incredible, and you've gotten to kind of jump in with that because you're incredible, and it's like, then Nathaniel goes another step and is like, hey, how do we get this? And I'm like, well, you got to do this. And he's like, do it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, no, do it. I'm like, okay. And then he does it, and I'm all freaking out because I've got this new drone that somebody is entrusting me with. And he's just like, send it, dude. Like, do your thing with it. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
And just to have, I don't know, just the whole camaraderie of it was just so fun, and we had a great time. I'm super excited to see what he comes out of it with. We'll see when that happens, but my goodness, how fun.
Right.
How fun it was to just do it this year.
What is it like out there? So we'll set the stage a little bit. For anyone who doesn't know, we shot what will become a docuseries, essentially, like a episodic documentary, essentially, of the reopening of the I-44 Speedway in Lebanon.
Yeah.
So almost half the year last year,
most of the summer,
all of us got together. We decided, hey, we're going to do this project. We're going to go full on into it.
Yeah.
And none of us got paid.
No.
We're all doing this in hopes to have an end product that not only are we proud of, but that we can then take and sell to a Netflix, Hulu, any of those things. Those aren't a given.
Right.
But those are the platforms that we're wanting to get it on to.
I remember the meeting that Nathaniel sat us all down, all the creatives.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, guess what? We're going to do this awesome project, but we're doing it for nothing.
Right.
And we're all like, yay!
Yeah. See, that to me alone, that signals how much growth we've had.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
One of the things that we talked about in that first episode a lot was you tend to have
scarcity mentality.
Yeah, well, kind of, but like what you were just kind of touching on, where you now know a couple of years in, like in the good season, you prepare for the off season.
Right.
That was during the busy season.
Right. It was.
And the fact that you were willing to take other time that potentially was, family time away from kids or whatever.
Right.
And to pour into this with actually no give
benefit,
back
right?
at first, no guaranteed benefit.
There's no guarantee. Yeah.
So that to me was a gigantic leap.
Yeah.
And like in the mentality of, we're going to put this effort in hopes for this.
Right.
But if nothing even happens with it,
we'll still have a cool docuseries to watch.
It's going to be awesome no matter what. And I'm proud of what we did, what we accomplished, what we figured out. Like, there was a ton of problem solving in there, like how to mic up race car drivers.
Yeah.
And not only get race engine sounds.
Right.
So those were like really cool things that people watching it hopefully will never think about. Right. That's the goal.
Right.
You never think about it. But like, I can think of one instance when there was a 14-year-old race car driver, and he wrecks in one of the races. And he spins out and kind of, he doesn't wreck, but he spun out.
Right.
And we had cameras rolling in his car, and we had him mic'd up.
Oh, wow.
And he has like a full, exactly what I would do if I wrecked a race car in the middle of where he's like panicking and like, like shaking, like,
yeah.
and he starts talking to himself.
Oh, wow.
You know, and like, I should have never gotten this car. I should have never done this. I should have never done.
Oh gosh.
Like all those internal things that like make you freak out.
Yeah.
Whenever you're freaked out.
Oh wow.
But obviously those he raced every week. Like,
yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah.
So like being able to capture those moments.
Yeah.
That people are just real having. It was like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And now looking back at the footage, and we went back that night and watched that footage, and we're like, this is going to be something. Like,
that's
you're
cool.
actually capturing real life, real people, and like the real emotion of it.
Yeah.
Figuring out the ways to do that from, you know, it was 4 or 5 of us that were consistently working on this that have never even attempted anything like that.
Right.
So just the problem solving of it.
Right.
And just the learning is the biggest aspect.
And see,
for me.
I didn't even know anything about that until you said that, because I was just in the position of drone. This is from ground level up. That's what I'm trying to capture, and I kind of let you guys do your, like, that's what's so cool about it too, is like you guys are figuring those things out. I don't have to worry about figuring those things out, but you also don't have to worry about trying to keep a drone in the air. You know what I mean? So we've got, like you said, like kind of like this Avengers team that can like just come in and go, how do we make all of the shots? How do we get it all taken care of? And we just do it, you know, and it's awesome to hear that you guys learned how to do some of this stuff. Yeah. You know, I know new tech was being purchased for, like, Nathaniel would be like, I think we can do this, but we got to get this, you know, and I ended up buying an Action 4 because, you know, that Nathaniel found that those had better low light, and so I went ahead and purchased one and was like, all right, let's do it. So there's it's awesome to hear. I can't wait to see it. I can't.
It's going to be crazy.
I can't wait.
I can't express how awesome it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, even just, we would go back every night after the races.
Yeah.
And we would be there for like 3 more hours after being at the racetrack all day long.
Yeah.
We would just sit there and pull in the footage and be like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And we caught this little soundbite over here.
Yeah.
And then we finally, after being there a couple times, because I-44 it's a big area.
That's huge.
There's hills to climb.
That's awful.
All over the place. So our calf muscles were like bodybuilder mode at the end of that. But like, just, we finally figured out, like, okay, I can do this from over here.
Yeah.
I can do this from over here. And we knew where to be at certain times by the end of it.
Yeah.
And so we got really efficient with it, and being able to, we knew there was a little scuffle that ended up happening towards the end of the season.
Right.
And we saw that, and immediately all of us, without saying anything, just took off to the pit area to capture the guy getting out of the car and doing all the things.
This is going to happen.
Yeah, so like, just those little things like that of like recognizing, okay, this is happening over here.
Yeah.
We all had headsets on so we could communicate too.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, so Nathaniel and Connor go down to the pits, and then we'll go over here. We'll capture this vantage point. You get that vantage point.
Right.
All on the fly.
Yeah.
So like, just I guess the team aspect of it.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. And honestly, it opened my eyes a lot. I've worked with Nathaniel and his team now for going on 3 years.
Yeah.
And Borderline became part of the team.
Yeah.
You know, like, I work with them on a lot of different projects. But
yeah, it's awesome, man.
It's opened my eyes up to having a team and having people that you can rely on for certain things. And that's one thing I think me and you both have, that I can do everything myself, sort of mentality.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's fine. I don't need any help. I'll just sit here and drown.
Right.
Don't pick me up at all.
Right.
You know, like, so
guilty.
So
I am guilty.
That's one thing that going into this year, I like sat myself down, it felt like, at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And had a little hard conversation with myself
internally.
You know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like it's really needed to do that. Like, from the outside looking in, you could probably see you could probably see me and be like, oh, that dude's successful at whatever he's doing. Everything must be fine, you know?
Yeah. Oh no.
There is problems, you know? Like,
yeah.
And it's really hard whenever you're the sole creative.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're the sole whatever it is for the business.
Yeah.
Like, all aspects of everything pass through you.
Right.
You know? So this year is going to be wild. Like, looking forward to we'll get more into future stuff at the end. But
being in the I-40, doing the I-44 stuff with Nathaniel and because that's Slate & Glass, it's Sweno Visuals, it's Warson Media, it's LEB TV. It's like all of these different things are coming together and going, let's do this. Mm-hmm. And being able to, just like when I got the call that you wanted me to help you with that project, here recently, it was like when you called me and were like, hey, I want to do this. And I got excited because I'm like, oh, I get to go hang out with Sweno and I get to go work with him. And I don't know. I get excited now when we get an opportunity like that. And I know they don't come along. It's not like an everyday thing. But I've also got my own work that I'm able to, I'm able to jump in and out and work as a team, but also work on my own. And I think being successful on your own allows you to be able to come in and work as a team and not feel the pressure of how much am I getting paid?
Right.
Because that's a pressure that if you don't have, it's like you can feel free to be more creative, feel free to have a good time and have fun. And yeah, it's awesome. And then when you've got somebody like Nathaniel who's willing to drop a pretty substantial amount of money to say, I believe in what you're doing so much that I'm going to do this so that we can get this footage that I want. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa.
It's like someone essentially, I trust you enough to put this amount of money in the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to send it,
Absolutely send it.
So
yeah, that's
one thing that I had like kind of revelation on, I guess, is for the past 2 years, essentially, I've pushed myself. Yeah. And that's one thing now looking back and trying to reflect, I realized that I will do whatever.
Yeah.
I will push myself as hard as I can.
Absolutely.
I don't even need to, though. Right. That's the problem.
Right. But we're wired that way.
So now I know me working, the amount of effort that I'll put in is not a limiting factor for me.
Right.
The other parts that lead to that are the limiting factors.
Right.
So if I then have help with those other parts, then everything can level up more.
Right.
And it's not limited by my time, essentially. Or the amount of effort that I can put into here can be scaled because it could be someone else doing it.
Right, for sure.
Who's better at it.
For sure.
So now I've made some additions to the team.
Right,
so,
yeah, which is incredible. I mean, you're and we've spitballed that for a couple of months. Yeah. When I'd come in here, you'd be talking about it and I'm sharing like different aspects of what I think it could be. And, there's so much overlap too. We talked about that where, you could almost have one person helping multiple businesses, so to speak, you know what I mean? But that's a whole nother topic. But but even for me this year, I realized over the summer that I can't maintain the level of service that I want to maintain for my clients in the busy season, which is the summer. Like May through September this year was just stupid. And I'm not complaining about that.
Which is the best problem ever to have.
It is such a good problem. And I'm so grateful to those that have trusted me with their listings and with their work. And like I can't say that enough. But what I realized this year is that I needed to reach out to somebody that I knew was very capable of helping me this year. I kind of last year did it just a little bit and kind of got in on the very last part of it. But then this year it was like, okay, we're doing this. And I paid for him to get his FAA certification. I put a drone in his car. I put whatever chargers he needed. Like I did the thing that an employer would do and then said, I'll send you jobs. I need you to go do them. Mm-hmm. And we did that all through the summer, and it was great to be able to to push off the I taught him how to do how I do it and what I wanted to see, and that's hard for me. Like me well enough to know that is like I keep some of this stuff very close, and at the end of the summer I was just like, this has been great because I was able to keep my lead times down. because I feel like with the industry that I kind of land in, if you're not able to get to a job within a week or 10 days, you're not going to get it. Like they're going to, they're going to go find somebody who's going to be able to do it. And I want, not that I want everybody to use me. I kind of do, but I realize there's plenty out there for all of us. Mm-hmm. But if you're a good client, I don't want to push you out 2 weeks, 3 weeks, mm-hmm. And so adding Graham this year and putting the tools in his tool belt that he needed kept me from having those 2.5 week lead times. It kept me from pushing stuff out so mm-hmm. far. And that's kind of where you're at. Not necessarily you're looking at more of your back end stuff, right now. But I needed just more. I just had more houses than I could physically go to in a day. Yeah. And so having another person to do that was great. And
that trust, like you have to trust him,
I do.
That, and I don't know if it's harder or better. Like you were saying, Sweno Visuals, you like the way that sounds, and it kind of encompasses mm-hmm. what I do. Warson Media, I've fought back and forth, like, do I have my name attached? Because to me, my name has always been my goal. Like,
right.
Whenever I had nothing, whenever I was cashing in my change to feed our kids early on.
You still have your name.
My goal has always been to make my name mean something.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully positive, right. I don't want to be in the newspaper in jail, so right. Like to positively have a name that my kids would eventually go to school and their teachers and everybody else would think highly in a positive light because of anything that I've done.
Absolutely.
That has always been my goal. I don't really have financial goals, and that might sound weird to people.
No, I don't either.
But like, it's called a reputation. Yeah. Like I've always wanted to have a positive reputation with whatever I decided to do.
Yeah.
This was before I picked up a camera even.
Yeah.
So like knowing that I want that and making my business literally my name.
Right.
I'm entrusted. If I have someone go shoot a project for me, I'm entrusting them and with putting my name on it.
Absolutely.
That is a hindrance whenever you need help.
Right.
To me.
Right.
Because I'm not willing to sacrifice
right.
any quality.
Right.
I'm not willing to sacrifice the client experience at all.
Right. 100%.
But then at the end of last year, I recognized I am impacting my customer experience.
You're in your own way.
I am negatively impacting the business by not entrusting some other people to help me.
Right, right.
As much as they could.
But just like with me, the person that you're bringing on is somebody that you can trust.
Yeah.
And it's somebody that has proven that, and that's the same way with Graham. Like I've known Graham since he was this big, and so I know him backwards and forwards. I've worked with him before. I know what he wanted. I knew what he needed, and we exceeded what he needed. Mm-hmm. And so that was the goal. And we both walked away from the summer when he went back to his regular job at the school. We both walked away from the summer going, we're doing that again.
Right.
Like that next summer, as soon as you're done, I'm putting jobs in your hand. Right. It's happening.
But then it gets to, hey, maybe not just during the summer, you know? That's a possibility down the line. No, and it's crazy to think like that.
I just had that conversation with my wife this week of like, I might have to figure something out.
It's like that shift is, I would say to sum up what we're talking about here, the difference from the last episode 2 years ago to this episode is we went from holy shit, we're doing like my goal, I think you had the same goal, was to do what you love full time.
Yeah. And provide for my family.
And survive.
Provide for my family.
Now the next step of that, the next evolution of that, a couple of years later, is how do we scale the business, essentially? Like,
yeah,
not scale as in like we need 100 employees and we're going global.
No, I don't want that.
Like, but like scaling as in like, rather than being like, how do I eat and my children eat?
Mm-hmm.
It's how do I thrive and,
help somebody else,
help this person eat,
Yeah.
It's a crazy mind shift for that to happen.
It is.
You got to do a lot of the same things, but you also have to do a lot different to make that work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the difference, for instance, in my business is I've been, and it's kind of crazy to even say this, and I said it on the last podcast too. I've not went after business. Still 8.5 years in.
Yeah, I don't do
it's
that much.
crazy that I don't got to go after leads.
Right.
I don't have leads.
Right.
People just contact me.
Yeah, I'm in the same.
Which is a good and a bad thing. If I've been able to be as successful as I have with not going after business.
Yeah. What happens if you go after?
What could happen?
Right.
But I literally haven't had the time.
Right.
Like, I've been fortunate enough to have so much on my plate that I've had the problem the last 2 years of keeping up.
Right.
So now we've been every week. I have Bethany now. She's going to be a full-time employee.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to have an actual full-time employee.
Yeah.
You know? And so we've been the past couple weeks, every week meeting what went good the past week, what's upcoming the next week. She's helping me set deadlines for things.
Right.
That's one thing as a creative that's really hard is putting a deadline on yourself.
Yeah.
Especially creative work,
right.
You know, whenever you could do it until infinity and it wouldn't be perfect.
Right.
And I definitely.
And that's one thing that I don't struggle with that quite as much because I don't know, just because I'm that way. I want to get it to where I know it's going to work for the project that I have, but my goal is to just I'm a machine, right? And I don't want to say that in a negative way, but I'm a machine when it comes to shooting and producing where that's why one reason why I love jumping in with you guys, with Slate and Glass or with you or with anybody. I love being able to go, here's my footage. I can't wait to see what you do with it because I know what I would do with it, and what I would do with it isn't on the creative level as what you or Nathaniel is going to do with it. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think what I'm doing a lot of times is just showing off a property, making sure people can, from anywhere in the world, feel like they've been in this property. And if I do that, great. Move on to the next one. You know what I mean? You don't have to. It's
like check, move.
Right. And
the goal is different.
The goal is different, but that's because I'm not I would consider you and Nathaniel like hyper creatives. You know what I mean? Like you could totally out creative me. Yeah.
Out creative
me. But
it's going on a shirt.
But at the same time, you've got to have guys like me who can just crank it, you know? And so I think that's
yeah. So like, for instance, I wish that I had more of that. Like it is a detriment to me. Okay. So for instance, this podcast, I've had it for 2 years and this is the episode 23, I believe. 23 episodes in 2 years is unacceptable
because you get busy
by my own standards. But the reason that I haven't done it is because I couldn't do it to the level that I wanted to do it.
Right. You couldn't just put something out to have it out.
Yeah,
you
I can't. I just can't.
Yeah. Like you want it to look.
We got 3 cameras. Right. We got 2 lights up here. We got 3 lights back here. We have a whole studio.
I've got a drone flying in just a minute.
I mean, why not? Like
if it wasn't at Ashley Park, never mind.
Right. So like it just. Those are the sorts of things that I've been reflecting on a lot.
Yeah.
And so another instance is YouTube. I've wanted to make YouTube videos for at least 10 years.
Yeah, you've talked about it a lot.
I can't make them consistently, efficiently, up to the standard that I want to.
Right.
So then I don't.
So then you just don't do it.
So I've put off potentially, a global audience.
Yeah, growing a channel.
For years and years and years because I'm just holding myself back.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that this year.
Yeah.
Like I'm going for it. And we're making a plan going forward. Yeah. And Bethany has been a big help already.
Yeah.
And
you got somebody that can actually kick your butt.
Yeah. And that's what I told her too. I was like, yeah, you're not my boss, but I want you to like hold me accountable.
Have the freedom to say, Brian, you got to do this.
Yes.
Like stop talking and do this.
I've ran into this issue, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk with you about. And we kind of touched on it with the I-44 stuff. The personal projects, balancing balancing doing this for a living, for a job, and balancing having fun with it.
Right. Absolutely.
How do you go about that? Because for me, it's like
I miss
I say yes to so much that I don't give myself an opportunity to have fun with it anymore.
A lot. Sometimes I sit on my couch and watch other pilots get to do things that I want to do because I'm trying to make sure my family can eat.
All right. But at the same time, you know that you'd be good not working half the year probably and have enough. You know, I mean, like that's the mentality though.
Right. No, it is.
You know, you feel like I have to continue pushing for my family to eat when my family has plenty of food.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So like those are the things that I gotta, yes, I'm never going to take off or step back.
Right. But
the business can scale.
But it's also for me, not necessarily about how much money I'm making. It's about my customer reaction with me. So like right now, I had a customer message me this morning and wants me to shoot a property for him on Friday. Well, in the time that he talked to me about, hey, how's your schedule? And the time that it was, hey, I'm going to lock it in, I've already scheduled. And so now I'm in my head going, how do I do what I promised already to another person? But now, so it's, for me, it's not necessarily how much I'm making. It's about making sure that my integrity with my clients is good. And if I take off to go do this pet project, then I don't have a back end that can just do things when I'm not doing them. So at some point, I've got to figure some of that stuff out, and that goes to trust and all of that. But I don't do some pet projects. Like I really love chasing drift cars with my drone. It's just fun. I love. I might get an opportunity this weekend to chase some monster trucks that I've never done before. I love doing those kind of things, like being a part of this. But those things don't necessarily. The racetrack stuff doesn't pay my bills. You know, in fact, I've got to spend money because batteries are like $50 a piece to have enough batteries to last the time that you want to be at this place. So it actually costs you money to go do the things that you kind of like doing.
Yeah.
I still love flying through houses and flying. Don't get me wrong, but those pet projects are difficult because when I have a customer who I've got a relationship with who needs something done, I want to do it for them. And that's just a personal integrity thing for me. And so I will not do something like I won't go to the racetrack on a Friday night because I had enough in that day that I've got to get that stuff done for my clients.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my mentality, and the financial stability just comes along with that. Does that make sense? Because I've never had this whole time, even the first year I was doing this, I just wanted to provide for my family. That was my goal. I wanted to maintain our level of how we had been living when I had a job, and just maintain that was my goal. I didn't realize 4 years later, not having a financial goal was not going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Because in corporate world, I always had goals and objectives. I always had something that they were making me strive for and do. You know, like you've got to do this much continued education, or you've got to do. It's like I'd have sales number goals, or and I always hated it because I'd get to the end of the year and I'd be like, okay, what did I do? You know, because I wouldn't keep track of it all year. I would do what came at it, what came at me, and then expect it to be good at the end. And now that I'm in charge of my own destiny that way, I never said I'm going to make this much money in a year, and then get to the end of the year and like be mad at myself that I didn't do it. I wanted to just say, every week my family's getting fed and we've got gas in the cars and the mortgage is paid. Cool, win. And then I got to the end of the year and I was like, what?
What just happened?
So that's partly a detriment because I don't have goals and objectives. But because of the way I work, I don't need them.
Mm-hmm. But you do.
I do, but
you do have goals because the goal is make sure your family's taken care of.
Yeah.
And you make sure that that's done.
I do. Yeah.
Check that box. But then you don't have I need to make this, or I have a goal of this amount of money, or I have a goal of this amount of clients.
Right.
What I'm referring to with the personal projects is like if you take, so for instance, your week of real estate, you're traveling to, you're going here, you're going there, hundreds of miles
a day. Yeah.
Let alone a week.
Yeah.
And then
I did 53,000 miles last year.
Yeah. Nuts. Those what I'm referring to is the projects that every time you do something like that, even though you do like doing it, just like I like shooting a business promo or shooting a football promo or do whatever. Those are little parts of me that I'm giving to the client.
Right.
The projects that you just shoot to have fun, or like you going and flying around your backyard and flipping around the trees.
Yeah.
I feel like those are the projects that you're taking, adding back to.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I like, making these podcasts, setting up 3 cameras, setting up lights, having the conversation. I feel more energized after than I did before.
Right.
Like I feel like I get something, making little YouTube videos.
Right.
I don't feel like that's work. Like I'm gaining from that, even though I'm giving information away. I'm doing it. I'm doing it in a way that I am creatively fulfilling myself.
Right.
So that fills the cup up, to use that reference.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm pouring back into myself.
Right.
From some outside cup.
Right. I see what you're saying.
I got to do more of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of us creatives got to do more stuff like that.
I probably should, but
and I end up saying yes to so much stuff that I don't even need to.
Right. But you couldn't do it.
But then I end up draining my cup.
Right. Well, and then I
don't have that to pour into anything anymore.
And that's one
where
reason
it gets impacted.
And that's one reason, like if you follow me on social media, you know that I've built a new 7-inch drone. I didn't need to, but I very much enjoyed the free time that I've had through this month, the first part of the month, to be able to sit down at my dinner table and get all my stuff back out and get the soldering iron out and like just putting it all together, getting things that energized me this year, and I've done that the last couple of years. I built a 5-inch last year and I used it quite a bit this year, and this 7-inch has the potential to do some awesome stuff this year. And so I do it for a reason, but that is probably something that has helped me.
Being more intentional, like the Ha Tonga trip we took.
Yeah, that was fun.
Like those days where not only would we get together and go do something, just we're doing the same thing, like literally making a video.
Right now,
you're
we're
literally
doing that.
Flying a drone.
Yeah.
But we're doing it together and hanging out. Or we could do it solo. If you just took a trip to Ha Tonga and flew for the fun of it, that would be way more energizing than going to the same location or same distance of travel and shooting a real estate house.
Right.
Because then you're checking something off of a list to be done rather than being like, what could I possibly do here? Like the creative part of, and that's how my brain works.
And being able to fly a different way. Like the way that I fly at my house or when it snows, like I love doing the snow stuff. Like when I'm flying through those trees and it's all snowy and it's beautiful. Like that, I can't do that on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I don't bust out the freestyle drone and flip over trees very much to show off a house. It just, sometimes you can, like sometimes you can figure out some of that stuff, but most of the time I see what you mean though. That's the stuff, that is really good.
My point in all of that is this year, I'm going to make it a point.
You're going to do more of that.
To not only, and this is where the goals in the business have to shift.
Yeah.
To allow that to happen.
Yeah.
So rather than relying on everyone coming to me for business and saying yes to all the little things.
Right.
And I'm fortunate for every client. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
What I am saying is if I have to say yes to 15 tiny projects when I could go after one big project.
Yeah.
That one big project takes a certain amount of time.
Right.
To shoot and deliver.
Right.
all of those tiny projects add up to way more work for way less return.
That's true. Yeah.
So we are going to be intentional this year about going after some really big projects. Scarily big for me. And we're in that process right now of figuring out who would even be a potential for that.
Don't forget your drone guy over here.
Right. And that's what I want to do too. Like I want to involve you as much as I possibly can. I want to involve anyone else as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
That's my goal. My
awesome.
goal literally is to make cool stuff.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before.
That's the goal.
That was a running joke between us for a long time. Like
this is what we do.
Yeah, I just want to make cool stuff. Like literally that is my goal.
Yeah.
The financial stuff, fortunately, is great.
Right.
Like it's fine.
Right.
We're covered.
It comes.
But more financial stuff would come with me doing more of what I like, which is crazy. I feel like the financial comes if you're doing what you love for the right reason.
Right.
I know I'm not in this to take away from anybody else.
But it has taken us 4 years to get in that mindset.
Right.
We're both 4 years into this. Mm-hmm. And to be able to have that mindset is it's a process. It's and always if we sat down in the next 2 years, which I hope we do.
Yeah.
2 years from now, we're going to be like, "What?"
Right. And I will have done more than 22 other podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, and it'll be crazy. Who knows what will be.
Well, like another gigantic change is we're in a whole new studio. Like we're in
this place is awesome.
I got a whole new office. We got a whole new studio space.
Yeah.
Like this was a gigantic leap of last year.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of work a little bit. It's like I got to almost like take a leap and then figure it out.
Yeah.
Take another leap, figure it out.
Yeah. And you're good at it.
It's just I got to have some sort of a goal. And now reflecting back, my goal was to do it full time.
Yeah.
Once I hit that, I didn't set another goal. And the year after I left my job was the worst year I've had. Creatively, it's the worst year I've had financially since I've been doing this.
Physically.
It's just, I was so drained.
Yeah.
And a lot of factors went into that. I lost my mom.
Yeah.
My hormones were all over the place.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's one of the very first things I noticed about the other podcast was how little energy I had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then we got that figured out. Shout out to Jasha from Ginger Wellness.
Yeah.
Helped me get my health back on track, get the hormones lined out. I'm on TRT. If anyone wants to talk about that or think that your testosterone levels are low or anything, that impacts you so much.
Yeah.
It is insane. And stress and lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Leading up to leaving my job and losing my mom and all those things played a big factor in all of that.
Yep.
But just think, your brain chemistry, it does a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And it can mess you up a lot.
Yeah.
So if things are out of whack, getting things aligned back,
right.
It was like a light bulb flip of a switch.
Yeah.
Energy, all the things just being back at a normal level.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's been a huge thing for me is I have had to, because of, if you go back to the other podcast, you'll understand why I'm saying this, but I had to almost just close off because, and just for the first time in my life, really just focus on me and my family, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And once I did that and started to kind of dig out of this on my own, sitting here 4 years later, there's not a room that I'm scared to walk into. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like there's not a place that I'm afraid to walk into in Lebanon, Missouri, and somebody's going to know who I am. Just like you. You can't go very many places without somebody recognizing you. And I'm not saying that to be boastful. I'm saying that just to say that I feel like I'm now, like I'm actually contributing to some little piece of our society now.
Yeah.
Where before it was like I was just in survival mode, mm-hmm. and I had to, just like with you and the THC and THC. No, THR.
We're not getting those rumors started.
We're not going
okay.
there. No, we don't do that.
No, TRT.
TRT. Sorry, but getting those levels fixed for you, getting those. I've never had those kind of issues, but. Mm-hmm. But the struggles that I had to just focus in.
Yeah.
I had to focus in and just start doing what I could do, ignore all the noise, and just focus on what I could do. And once I did that, it was like I started to feel like I was set free.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I can be a part of some things, like, I sit on one of the downtown board committees, and I have a lot of fun being able to work on that and bring my my creativity into those. But it's crazy to see how much change happens in just 4 years of focusing in and taking care of yourself, doing things for you and your family. And I've seen those things on social media where it says, if you take 6 months and just turn everything else off, you will come back as a new person. 100%. I was forced to do it.
Yeah.
I had circumstances in my life that said, you have to make a change, period. You can't continue to go on the way you're going. And so I was allowed that opportunity to turn everything, all the light switches off, except for the ones that matter.
Flipping the breaker.
Yeah. And then slowly things start to pop back on, and you're like, okay. And then you come out and you're like, let's go. You know what I mean?
Well, like that, I feel like a lot of people go through their whole entire life. They have things that they want to do, and they never take the take the leap.
Never do it.
And you, from all of our conversations, you probably would have never taken that leap.
I would not have done this.
I
would not have done this.
So like that knowing what you know now and being who you are now,
yeah,
that would have been a detriment to your whole entire life,
Yeah, I don't.
Sometimes the absolute worst possible thing
I think
can lead to the best.
I don't think it would have been a detriment, because I think that the path that I was on was a good one. I just don't think that I would be as fulfilled. And
which is a detriment.
It is a detriment. I don't want to downplay my past so much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, because I was very grateful for what I was doing. I was thankful. I felt energized by a lot of the things that I did. But now it's like I'm standing on my own 2 feet, and I know what I'm capable of. I know what I need to say no to. I don't say yes to everything. I had somebody the other day. I get several people like, hey, can you shoot my wedding? No, but Brian Sweno is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, can you shoot my senior pictures?
And then they message me, can you shoot my wedding? I'm like, no, but I have Becca, and she's amazing.
Yeah, but that's where I'm at. I'm like I know my lane. I know my lane, and I know it really well. And I'm going to just stay in this lane, and I'm going to jump out as I see different opportunities. But this is where I'm going to be, And when I get to jump in and work with you, that's part of my lane. This is, I don't know. It's just, I understand. I understand this so much better now than what I did, and I just keep getting my own head blown at the end of every year. I'm just like, this year I sat there, and I don't know if you saw the picture that I posted. That was one picture from every property that I just shot a picture of this year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm looking at that going, wow. Like, I'm a person of faith. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And I believe that that is something that, like, I can't sit there and not thank God for the opportunity and for giving me these opportunities. I know that people think differently of those things. I think that he's put me in these places for a reason. And I'm just thankful, man. I'm thankful. I'm thankful to you. I'm thankful to Nathaniel. I'm thankful to all my clients. I do things a little different, but it works. And yeah, it's been great. It's been great. Yeah.
How often do you take time to just look back?
This year it was just the end of the year. The first couple of years, every month I would, kind of see where I was at and what I was doing. And then as I've gotten more confident in what I'm doing, I look at it less. I do look at things on a weekly basis to make sure that, like, my bills are paid.
Right.
Like, that's an important thing. So I kind of have an idea, but I'm not thinking about it all the time like I used to. Now I got to the end of the year this year. I literally got to the end of the year this year and was like, no way. And I redid all the numbers again because I was like, there is no way. And sure enough, like I've done it 6 ways to Sunday, and I can't, like, that's the number. Like, okay. Okay.
It's always good when it's a higher number than what you thought.
Because last year,
head, you know?
Because last year I thought that I capped myself out. I honestly did. I thought there is no way I'm going to do any more than this. There's no way. And then I'm looking at it going, okay, well, I guess there is a way.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's one thing. I'm almost the exact opposite, where I'm almost too blindly faithful in myself.
Yeah.
And I'll just take this leap. Yeah,
You take the leap.
I make sure it's calculated.
You take the leap, and then you're like, "Oh, do I have money for that?"
Well, I make sure it's calculated. I've never done anything that I didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
But financially, like, I know, and I knew whenever I left my job, I'm not going to be the limiting factor.
Right.
I will always bet on me.
Yeah.
I feel like I wish that I could impart that on. If you take anything from this episode, you got to be confident in yourself.
Right. And that's one thing that I've learned from you is watching you early on. I was like, I learned better how to bet on myself having people like you in the circle, you know, because rather than, I was always the guy that was behind someone else. I was always banking on someone else's success. And then once I realized that, oh, I can do this, like I can stand on my own, now I'm hedging my bets on myself, and I didn't do that before. So we came at that differently, where when everything crashed in my life, it was like, okay, who do I latch onto now? But every time I would try to latch onto something, it wouldn't work, and once that all started to not work, I really started feeling a peace that this was where I needed to go. And then a few years down the road, you're going, oh, well, I should have hedged my bet on myself a long time ago.
Well, that's one thing that I'm trying to get better at. And I'm trying to kind of flip the opposite direction of, like, being a little bit more intentional of looking around.
Yeah.
Because just like the past couple of years, I've made the same mistake for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
That has limited my business. It has let some of my clients down a little bit.
Right.
And I know that. That's not what I'm in this for.
Right.
I'm in this to make cool stuff.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
Right.
But there has to be intentionality behind that.
Yeah.
So I need to be a little bit more intentional. I need to plan things out.
Yeah.
I need to put some deadlines for myself.
Yeah.
Rather than just being like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Right.
But then I'll say yes to 700 other things in the meantime.
Right.
So, like, that's one of the things of coming at it from I got to be more intentional of looking around, not only looking back and seeing where I am.
Yeah.
Like, come up for air for a minute.
Yeah.
Then you dive back down.
Right.
I got to come up for air more often.
Right.
And that's one of the things that you're confident in the way that you did it before, and now you have to pay attention a little less. Because you had those structure.
Yeah.
You have structure. If that's one thing you said, like you said, you're a machine. You have the structure. I got to get more of that structure. And you've already done. I've already implemented certain things.
Absolutely.
Like we filed for the LLC stuff. That's something I have never done.
Yeah,
I own my business now. Yay! 8.5 years too late. It took 5 minutes to do it, but that's just something I've just put off. But that's one thing. Bethany just came in and being like, okay, let's do this.
You got to do this.
So we just sat down and did it.
Yeah.
It took 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I thought it was going to be some big thing.
No.
That I just push it off.
No.
You just sit down and get it done.
Yeah, sit down and do it.
It just gets done.
Yeah, sit down and do it. And that's, I think, one of the things for me now, like you're what, 33? 33.
I just turned 33 and I feel old. I can't even imagine how you feel right now.
So I'm 46. That's crazy to say, but I'm 46 and my head is now going, how long can I push my body to do this? Like, not so much. It's just the constant go, right? The constant, I like the go, but then when I get done shooting, I got to go home and I got to look at a screen for a few hours and I got to crank this stuff out. And so as I'm getting older, I'm now trying to to push myself to think differently. Like we talked about before, trust people to do the things that, so I don't have to do them, or I want to eventually be able to have other income that like I'm thinking about other income opportunity that I can pour into now while I'm working hard. I can pour into these other things that are going to allow me to retire at some point and not do this. I don't want to be sitting here 10 years from now doing what I did this year.
Yeah.
I just don't. I want to still be flying drones. I want to still be doing cool stuff. I want to be doing more of the like one-off job stuff. Like, hey, you're a great pilot. We want you to come and do this, as opposed to I got 5 properties to shoot today. You know,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's a big change, and I'm trying to mentally make that change.
What are you doing, and what are you mentally doing to look towards doing that?
I'm openly talking about it right now. That's what I'm doing. I've been talking about it. I've been thinking about it for a while, and that's I'm not just trying to stuff away for winter now. I'm trying to stuff away for future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to say, all right, let's invest in this. Let's do this. Let's put money here. That way, whenever I do want to make that change, I can start scaling down the real estate side, or having other people do the real estate side. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to, I get locked in with people, right? So when I've got a good client, it just tears me up to even say, I'm not going to do your work. I want to still have Warson Media out there doing it. Mm-hmm. It may not be me, but it goes like this whenever I start thinking about that, because there's so many opportunities and there's so many different things to do. But I want to eventually be able to just pick and choose the jobs that I want to do, and then spend time with my wife, spend time with my family, and maybe go see some stuff I've never seen. And you know what I mean? Like fly in some places that I've never flown before. And like the world is bigger than Lebanon, Missouri. And I want to experience that a little bit more.
That's one of the big conversations we've been having about this intentional approach to the next, several years.
Yeah.
And I kind of see this year is going to set up the next few years for me.
Yeah.
And I know, I love our community.
Yeah.
I think we both,
Absolutely.
We've been here. I do all these different things for the school, and I'm involved in a lot of other things and sports and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't want to limit myself to our local area anymore.
Yeah.
I'm intentionally going outside of our area.
Yeah.
For one, just as a challenge for myself.
Yeah.
But also those bigger scale projects are
not in this
few
area.
and far between here.
Right.
And we have a sandbox here.
Yeah.
We're all playing in the sandbox.
It's a great sandbox.
There's only so much sand.
Right.
Like I want a dump truck.
But it's a great sandbox.
So I'm gonna go explore other sandboxes and see what it's like to play in them.
Like I got opportunity. Well, you've been places too this year. Like I went to Dallas, Texas twice this year. I went to several different places. I'm mostly south, but I got some opportunities to fly some stuff that, like I'm not supposed to be here, right? and hopefully I'm going to get some more of those. I'd love to do some more of that stuff this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
That's where that scaling part is going to come in for you is taking on those bigger jobs.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Just as outside perspective here, your business, if that's going to happen, that's why I was asking you like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because the first thing that happens in my head whenever you say that is if you only put out what you are putting out, then no one from those big opportunities are going to know who you are to be able to hire you.
Right.
And that's my exact position right now and what we've been talking about.
Right.
I put out things for senior photos because that's what I've always wanted more of locally.
Right.
And I've gotten more of those.
Yeah. No, you
put it out and you get it.
Right.
If you're good enough and you have the intentionality behind it in the right place. The next challenge is how do I get someone from a different state to know who I am
Right.
and feel like they need to have me when there's the same amount of creatives in their area.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, so that's the thing. Like,
Right.
you got to get to those points.
Well, and that's like, for some of the stuff, like I love flying through manufacturing facilities. Like I just do. We had an opportunity with what you did to fly through one. I had a blast. Even the client was like, he likes what he does. I'm like, yes, I do. And, but sometimes those opportunities, like I can't post a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like I even reached out to the one in Waco, Texas, and was like, hey, I wanted to see if I could post that I did for you here. And they're like, well, we've had some changes and we don't know. And I'm like, okay, so that's a no. You know what I mean? So even some of the stuff that I fly, I can't promote yet because it's not public or because they're using it and don't want me to use it, which is fine. You paid me for it. Like I'm good. But that's like, I just talked to one a few weeks ago that I flew through. Shout out our mayor, Jared Carr in Carmico. I'm going to be posting that like on LinkedIn and some other things that will hopefully, like I posted one on LinkedIn, got a LinkedIn message from a guy that I used to work with 10 years ago who is now working at a different factory and was like, hey, I want you to come and fly this project. And I'm like, sweet.
Right.
Like, where did that even come from? So here I am in Springfield flying through something. It's like word of mouth is cool, but I've got to be more intentional, like you said, about making sure that like, hey, I do real estate, but I also do this and I also can do this. And did you ever think about flying through this? You know, like the Ginger Wellness thing, you know, Jaisha saw some of the other stuff that I had done and she reached out and she's like, I want you to do this. And I'm like, okay. So we did it and it was a lot of fun. And I think we're going to do it again at some point once she gets some more things put together over there.
That was a Christmassy one.
It was Christmassy. Yeah. But we have an opportunity to do some more and that doesn't take away from your style of what you've done for them too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It all kind of works together to really
and see, I think
elevate
that's
what they're doing.
One of the things too is like having people that like having you. I'm not offended that you went and shot for Jaisha. You know, like I want you to, for one, get more jobs. Her paying you is awesome. And then I want her also as the client to have whatever is the awesome thing. Yeah. You have a different perspective than I would have. Yeah. You know, just same, like whenever I started shooting the videos for Ramsey back in the day. And then the scale that we were doing them at was not needed to then sell the houses. Right. So he kind of diverted and you were shooting all these fly through videos and doing that. Like that was awesome to me. The fact that I wasn't needed to sell the house wasn't a thing for me. Yeah. You know, and like I could easily have been like, what the hell? You know, but that's not, for one, having good enough clients to know that they appreciate what you actually do. Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's a great thing. But then also having the friendships and all the things. Yeah. And working with other creatives in a positive direction. Yeah. There are some not so good relationships. Right. You know, and you just kind of got to steer clear of those. There's always going to be those people, and good on, you know, good for them. Just keep in your lane. Move on down the line. So we've hit on a lot of things. We have hit on a lot of things. We've hit on a lot. We've had a fun conversation here. We didn't do hardly any of the things that I was actually going to talk about. Of course not. But that's great. The conversation was the conversation. Yeah. So that's great. We kind of touched on this a little bit, and this is the last sort of topic I want to hit on here. Defining success. Like, okay, we're looking forward. We've done cool stuff. You've done cool stuff. We've grown a lot over the last 2 years since the last podcast. Yeah. What is the next 2 years looking like? Like you mentioned, you're trying to even think about how can you invest in other things, do other things to where you're not doing this every day, all day for the rest of your life. Right. You're 73 years old, you said. So you're coming up on some retirement options pretty quickly. What does success mean to you? And then what going forward are you doing to set yourself up, set your family up to where you can retire eventually, you know?
success looks like to me being able to hug my kids and they love me. That's what success looks like. And being able to love my wife. And, I think when I go back, when I think what success is, I'm already successful because my family has stuck together. I have great kids. I have an amazing wife. I have done what I wanted to do, which is provide for them. And I think that is what defines success for me. Can I provide for my family until they can provide for themselves? Kids meaning. But then also, can my wife and I live our life out without having to stress about where's our next meal going to come from, So I think I try to define success pretty close to home. And then all the other cool stuff that I get to do just makes that icing a little bit better, So I think moving forward, success business-wise is being able to run this business with the freedom that I ran it this year. Not worrying month to month, am I doing enough? But being able to know that I'm doing enough deep down that I don't have to think about it. I can just go do the cool stuff. I can just go take care of my customers. I can go do those things. And then when I'm ready to slow it down and heaven forbid, like something physically happens, we've had some things happen in our family here lately that makes me go, this is like something could happen. As many miles as I drive, something could happen right now. Something could be going on inside me that I don't know about that could incapacitate me in a few years. So I want to do as much as I can and walk with my kids through as much as I can, walk with my wife through she's by my side, has been, at the end of the day, I'm probably not the best. I'm a machine. Like I've said before, I'm a workaholic. I'm a worker bee. I'm a worker guy. I thrive when I just get to shoot and go do my thing and then come home and crank those things out and get them to the customer. And like, that's where I thrive. Where I don't thrive is, hey, 16-year-old son, here's my words of encouragement and advice today. Like, I'm the worst at it. And
that was my next question.
And if my kids are watching this, I'm so sorry that I have not been the dad that's like, here's a great one-liner that you can keep with the rest of your life. No, I don't have those. I'm not that guy. But what my kids have seen is hopefully how to provide for their families one day, how to just be a good person. You know what I mean? Like just to do the right thing. I talked to my son just a few days ago and said, one thing that is very important is letting your yes be yes and your no be no. When you say you're going to do something for somebody, you do it to the best of your ability. And if you can't succeed, you communicate to them that you can't, like, you let your yes be yes and your no be no. And if you don't want to do it, say no and make that your no. And don't wander on that. I want to be a dad that has the integrity to say, I messed up and I'm sorry and we're going to move forward like this. Success to me looks like my family being able to run without me and run better with me.
That's the one-liner right there.
Is it? I don't know.
That was a good one.
That's what I want.
That's a good quote to pull out.
I want my two boys to become good men, and do things better than I did, and do them with more integrity than I did them, and hopefully put me in a good nursing home one day.
It's coming up quick, so You were talking about wanting to know where your next meal came from. And I was thinking that at the nursing home, it's planned out.
It's the cafeteria. I don't know. I talked to my mom not too long ago, and I talked to her quite a bit. She's asking me for more and more. My mom is she's 84. I love my mom. And she has been pivotal for helping me through these last few years. And I talked to her, she kind of asked me how this year went, and I told her, and just to see my mom's reaction, to hear my mom's reaction, and to have her say that my dad would be so proud, was just something that I'm like, okay, yeah. And I want my kids to be proud of what I'm doing, but I also want to instill in them that, like, get up off the couch, go do the work that's set before you. None of this would be here if I had stayed on the couch. None of it. And I said that in the last podcast. I had opportunities, and I just kept getting off the couch and going and doing it. And that looks like success to me. And as I get older, success is going to look like not getting off the couch as much. But still,
that's ironic.
But still being able to provide for my family and eventually just provide for me and my wife, I hope.
Yeah.
I want my kids to, this is a springboard. This is
fly, little birdie.
Yes. So, and I'm talking to my boys differently now. I'm not telling them just to be those worker bees. I'm telling them that if you want to start a plumbing company, let's start a plumbing company. Like, I guarantee you, if I started a plumbing company, we would make some money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to I'd be a plumber, but those kind of trades are something that when we're pushing everybody to go to college, you lose just these electrician, plumber, builder, like these just trades. And those guys can just go in and, just do a great job. And so I'm not, if you don't want to go to college, you don't have to go to college, but you're not going to sit here. Mm-hmm. You're going to go do something.
Yeah. We've had those sorts of conversations with my stepdaughter recently. She just turned 16, just got the driver's license.
Oh, it's scary, dude.
And
gosh, it's scary.
I had a really, really cool moment with her, and it probably meant nothing to her, but for me, I came into her life when she was 3.
Yeah. So you're all she knows.
And now she's 16 years old.
Yeah.
And I've grown up, essentially. Like, having this kid look up to me, and we had a moment where we were out at a restaurant eating, and it was a place we wouldn't normally go, especially with the 3 kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And the bill came, and it was way more. It wasn't like a fast food bill or something.
It wasn't McDonald's.
It was somewhere we wouldn't normally eat. It was a special, I don't even know when it was, a special occasion.
Yeah.
And the waitress set the bill down in front of her so she could see it.
Oh boy.
And her face was like, how are we paying for this?
Yep.
And I was like, with a card, and I made it a point. I try to find those opportunities to, like, just the little things like that the kids don't have to think about.
Right.
I'm fortunate that my kids don't have to think about
how are we going to pay for that?
How are we going to pay for that?
Right. Me too.
But it was one of those moments, and I was like, this is what happens when you work your ass off.
Right.
Like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
That way we can have a meal at this place that we would never have a meal at, and have this experience.
Right.
That's what I want financially, is to be able to have more experiences.
Right.
With the kids, without the kids, all the things.
Right.
And it was just cool. It was like a light bulb moment in my head to her. Like, and she literally said, I want to do something like this whenever I get older.
Yeah.
And whatever that means for her, I want it for her.
Yeah.
Whether that is she wants to go to cosmetology school now.
Yeah.
She just started talking about that. And I'm like, well, we got Ramsey's daughter going into that. Yeah. We got his wife and Courtney. They do they do stuff like that. Yep. Like, there's people around here that you can learn from, and you can, that's a viable thing if you're actually into it.
Right.
And just like, success for me is that.
Yeah.
You know, not only just being my success personally is me being able to do cool stuff.
Right.
Like that is my success.
Right.
And provide by doing that.
Right.
On top of that, I don't care.
Right.
At this point in my life, I just want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
The next level of success, like you said, is enabling our kids to do whatever they want.
Right.
And that is the financial motivation on my end.
Right.
Is to be able to enable them to have whatever option they want.
Yeah.
Not to spoil them, which obviously we do.
We do.
Our kids are
they're
stupidly spoiled.
I
but
know.
like, you know, to teach them how to use it rather than just give them something for no reason. I want to teach them how to use it.
Right.
And how to implement certain things and have the mindset of like, hey, if I do this, then I can get this outcome.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a weird, I'm in a weird phase right now where she's turning she just turned 16. She's driving, got a boyfriend, and
oh, you got to stop that.
Yeah, I know.
So
it's just
so I have a 20-year-old, and I sat down with him just a little bit over the summer. He's got a job, like a summer job, you know, and what was cool for me was when I asked him, "Hey, are you going to work a little bit when you're home for Thanksgiving and Christmas?" And he's like, "Yeah, they've already called me." And I'm like, nice. That means that you did a good job and they want you to come back and work while you can because they know you're in college. So they know you're going to have these periods. Awesome. Win for dad right there, you know. But then also to sit down with him and be like, listen, you need to know that this is what it is taking us. Like I showed him I like opened the curtain a little bit and said, this is what some of this is taking to be able to do what you see out here. And I got the same look like that. What?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this doesn't just happen. You've got to make it happen. And we got to make it happen every week, every month, all through the year. And then when January 1 hits again, it doesn't just quit.
Yeah.
It's got to go again. And so to be able to kind of like, I wasn't shown behind the curtain much when I was growing up. And I got a pretty crazy awakening when I started to realize what it took to just be married and live together.
Yeah.
Like that was, I'm going, wow, it costs money to do this. And, and then, so now I'm trying to like, as my son gets into his second and third and fourth year of college, I want him to see more of like, this is what it takes. And this house and these cars and this, all of what you see is not, my wife and I didn't just get married and like,
poof.
It's all here. No, we started out in this little rental house and then we moved over to Nathaniel and we had a house there for 12 years. And then we got an opportunity for the one we're in now. And like, it's been this progression of this is what you do. And yeah, so I think success, we're still on that success thing. I think, you know, that's what it looks like is preparing our kids to do what we do and do it even better, you know,
constant improvement on what you're doing as well.
Yeah.
And you were just saying, you guys, even as a marriage, you just had the constant improvement.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as a parent, constant improvement.
And
as a professional.
And I have dropped the ball so many times on the husband dad thing. Like I am not going to sit here on this mic and say that I even know what I'm doing because I don't. And then the next thing happens and you're like, okay, I don't know how to parent through this at all.
Right.
And then you just do the best you can, you know.
We'll use this as the last wrap up thing because I know you got to go do a property and stuff. One of the
and hopefully find my box.
Right. One of the hardest parts of growing up is seeing your parents as a person rather than your parent. I feel like.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, I lost my mom a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I was turning that corner of like, who are my parents as people, you know?
Yeah, not just parents,
and that's one of the things that it took losing my mom at unfortunately younger age.
Right.
It's never, I don't think it's ever easy to lose someone.
It's
but
not.
like whenever someone's taken from you out of nowhere,
Yeah.
it shuts your whole world down for a while.
Yep.
And then you got to figure out how to rebuild from that.
Right.
And what it's going to, how you're going to use it as fuel, essentially. That's what I had to do.
Yeah.
But I actually literally made a video that last year, and it was in 2019, of that.
And we
like
didn't
the
know
hardest part of growing up.
Yeah, we didn't know each other at that time.
Mm-mm. And I filmed my mom like on a swing in the backyard. She never, ever went out and like sat on a swing. That's not who my mom was whatsoever.
Right.
But we were all hanging out there, the kids, grandkids. That
Right.
was her favorite thing ever, was just having us all there. And then like I made a video talking about the hardest part of growing up is seeing your parents as humans, as individuals rather than just your parent, because you always have that look up to them in whatever way. You know, your parent is your parent, if they're a good parent, at least. You know.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way.
Those are the things that I'm thinking of a lot lately. Is how do my kids see me?
Yeah,
and what do I want them to see, and what kind of person do I want to be for everyone, not only my kids, to be remembered by, and all those things.
Yeah,
so,
you don't want to just be remembered as a wallet.
Yeah, no. I do want them to know that if they need something, they can always come to me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And most of the time, if they want something, they can probably come to me.
Right.
But they might have to work for it. You know.
Absolutely.
That's one thing we've been really on that. But
this doesn't just happen.
It definitely
None of
does
this
not.
just happens. You and I couldn't just go hang out on our couches and watch TV and eat chips all day and none of this would happen.
Yeah.
So you gotta go. Mm-hmm. You gotta get up and go. And I hope my kids are seeing that. You know, I hope they are. I hope they see that, you know, no matter what, Dad gets up and goes. Like I lost my box. I briefly thought, I don't know that I can do this podcast today because I'm going to be just freaked out about this box. But no, I told you I was going to do it. So I'm going to put myself together. I'm going to gather my thoughts and I'm going to go, you know what? The box will find itself. The box will be here. If it doesn't come,
there's another one-liner. The box will find itself.
The box will find itself. It's going to come back. If it doesn't come back, I can replace everything that was in there. I do have the things that are critical. I have another drone. I always have seconds of everything. So, yes, it's terrible. Yes, I'm a bonehead and just left it. But is it the end of the world? No, it's not. It's not. I told you I'd do this podcast today. We're doing it. I've got properties after this. I'm going to go do it.
Right.
I'm going to go take care of it.
Well, I appreciate you being here and choosing to be here, even though you lost the box.
Absolutely.
That's going to be the theme of this episode, is the lost box. There's just been little things throughout it. I appreciate you as a person, as a friend. You've always been there for me. If good times, bad times, coming in when I'm frustrated, talking me through whatever, celebrating and being there and helping me on the big projects and doing the fun things. So
I love it.
As an outside perspective too, as a dad, you're doing great. You always go out of your way to be there. They're going to know, you know,
that's the hope.
If they don't see it, they're blind, you know, and they will eventually.
Yeah.
And that's something you got to think about too. Like, kids are going to be kids. They will see it eventually.
I didn't appreciate my dad until later in life.
Yeah.
You know, and then now that he's gone, it's like, I really wish I could sit down and just talk to him again. Mm-hmm. You know, but it's all right.
That feeling never goes away.
It'll never go away. So, it'll never go away. But I appreciate you too, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for everything.
Yeah. Thanks for your friendship. It's awesome.
In 2 more years, we'll sit here and see what else has changed. Thank you guys for tuning in and sticking here for, what is it?
Probably an hour.
Almost 2 hours.
Oh, jeez.
So thank you for being here. If you watched this episode and didn't go watch the first episode, go watch the first episode. I already told you at the beginning to go watch it then. You should have done it then, but you can do it now. It's always going to live here. We talk about all things Warson, from the beginning, actually inception on. That was a joke in that one of you were like,
when a man and woman love each other.
They love it. No, we skipped forward a couple of years after that though. So like we went through the whole backstory, all the things, how he got interested in what he's interested in, how the drone stuff started, all the progressions from that. So if you've been through this podcast, for sure, go watch the other one. You'll get a lot of valuable information. Thank you guys for watching and sticking with this podcast through the ups and the downs and the not posting, the posting. It will be posting from now on. I promise you. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.